In this tutorial, we're going to cover 4 different levels of email address validation and verification so that everyone is aware of a wide variety of approaches to accomplish the task of email address validation. And that happens when somebody is submitting an email through a web form or giving you an email for some reason, and you want to just make sure that it's a real email address or that it's properly formatted. Okay, first let's take a look at level 1, which is validating email address format on the client side using JavaScript. And I wrote 2 different functions so you guys can reference different ways to do it. Now this is a very low level approach, and you can see that the address variable represents the email address that the user would be putting into your form. And then we wrote an isValidEmail function that we run that address through as an argument. You see right here, isValidEmail. We run the address variable through as an argument. Now I'm just using alert to easily show myself if it's true or false, if it's valid or not. But you can put console.log right there if you want to be an extra special dork. Now basically all I made this function do was start with a result variable that is set to false by default. And if there happens to be an @ symbol and a dot within this string, then we're going to make the result variable equal to true. Then we just return the result to our calling code, which is this code right here. So this alert is going to read either true or false. Now we should get a true because we have the @ symbol and the dot in there. So let's render this in our favorite browser, and we get true. Okay. Now what if I was to go ahead and remove the @ symbol and then run that again in my favorite browser? It says false, so it failed validation for the format of that email. Now that's just a very low level email address format validation. Now I'm going to change out this function for one that uses a more complex regular expression to check the format of this email. So you can see we have the same name on the function, and we're sending address string through it again. Now here we have a variable that represents a regular expression. And if you look online, you'll find thousands of examples of different regular expressions. And honestly, when you're validating in JavaScript this way, it's never really solid because people can shut JavaScript off in their browser software, and then your form won't get validated at all. So that's why we recommend doing the validation, the serious validation, in PHP or your server-side scripting language. Now let's take a look at this one. Let's run this in our favorite browser. We get true. Now this one's a little more strict because let's say I remove all the characters before the @ symbol. We should get false now because this regular expression is set up to not allow or not validate an email address that doesn't have any characters before that @ symbol, because email address has to have characters before that @ symbol. So what if I was to remove the domain part of the address? Run that, and that returns false as well. So if we put the domain part back, we should get true. See? So that's just a little better when you want to validate the format of the string for the email address that the user's submitting to your form. But like we mentioned, you really can't rely on JavaScript for that. You can just do this as a way to prevent the form from being submit. Before the data gets sent to the server side, you can do a little check to make sure that their email address is at least formatted correctly. And that's really all you're doing in the JavaScript part. And we're going to have the code available for all of these examples at the page where this video renders at my site. So right under the video, you'll see all kind of different code examples. The first function that we had in place, then you'll see this function, and then the PHP examples as well. So if you can't really see the code in the video, you'll be able to go to my site and just copy paste it if you really want to take a look at it. Now for level 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to lead you to code examples that you can just grab and try for yourself. I don't even have to write the code examples out because somebody else already has. So if we go to php.net, which is the official manual for the PHP scripting language, I have a link that I'm going to give you guys that will send you to the validation examples. And these are using the filter var function. So you can see it says example number 1, validating email addresses with filter var. And this link will be in the description of the video, so you can just scroll under the video or to the side of the video somewhere, wherever the description of the video is, and you'll see links there. So this shows you how to use the filter validate email option of the filter var function. Now you can also just Google search online for PHP regular expression for validating email, and you'll get tons of results, thousands of results, different people showing different regular expressions that will validate an email address within your server-side code in PHP. So there's different approaches, but if you're using PHP 5 and above, you can just use filter var, which is nice and easy. So let me repeat that. You can web search for PHP regular expression for validating email addresses, and you'll get tons of examples. You'll see thousands of regular expression examples and little functions that you can put in place within your applications. But when you're checking the format of the string that is the email address, you can't really see if it's a real email address that exists. So level 3 and 4, that's what we're going to be discussing now. Okay, so level 3 is PHP SMTP email validation. I'm going to put the link in for that, and I found a nice little script on Google code.google.com, and I'm going to give you guys that link as well so you can come and check it out for yourself. Now it says a PHP class that allows validation of email addresses via SMTP. Email syntax can check whether an email address has a valid format. However, in order to check if the email address actually exists, you'll have to query the email domain for the existence of the email address. And that's what this helps you do. It helps you actually see if the email address that the user's putting in exists on that domain. Now, finally, level 4. And I'm going to give you guys this link as well. So you're going to get a bunch of links so you can research all these different things. Now, here at developphp.com, which is my site, in the Web Intersect Social Network training series, we show how to actually you send an email to the address that the user's putting in, and there's a link inside the email body that they have to click to verify that they own that email address. So that's a way to really check without a doubt that the email address exists and that it is theirs. Because sometimes people can put an email address of their friend, and then their friend is going to be the one that's associated to whatever form that's being submitted, and that's not right. You want to make sure that the person submitting the form actually owns the email address that they're submitting through your form, and the only way to do that without a doubt is to send them an email and say, hey, if you recently used the form here, click this to verify that you're the owner of this email address, and blah blah blah. So that's what this script shows you how to do, and it's part of the sign up form and email activation process for the social network training series that we did. So now you've been taken through level 1, which is simple client-side JavaScript email address format validation, all the way to level 4, which is a definitive way to make sure that the user submitting the form actually owns the email address that they're submitting in your forms. Okay? So really that's all the various ways to approach email address validation and verification when dealing with web development. Well, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye bye.